Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our two-day webinar, called How to Achieve Reach and Influence. This webinar is designed to help speakers come to grips with the reality that amazing speaking skills are not enough when you have an important message that you want to share with the world. There are several other skill sets that at a minimum you need to be aware of and ideally develop some mastery over in order for your important message to be heard with impact and with reach. We have 11 experts, each representing one particular set of skills. Earlier today, you've heard from Katja Bajaloud, speaking about ebooks, George Verdolaga speaking about printed books, and Rod Jantz speaking about podcasting. Now it's time for you to hear from Azadeh Yaraghi. Yaraghi. I always get the Y and the J mixed up. Sorry, Azadeh. At least I'm spelling the Azadeh correctly now. I'm getting a Z. So there we go. That's what I call progress. A little bit about Azadeh. Azadeh is going to speak to you about how to build a powerful brand. Now, Azadeh is a brand strategist. In fact, she is Get Inspired's brand strategist. So if you like Get Inspired's look and feel, you can point a finger at Azadeh and say, congratulations, you go, girl. Azadeh is a brand strategist. She's a #1 bestseller on Amazon. She's a speaker, she's a mentor, and she's the founder of a company called Go Talugo Creatives. She has over 14 years of experience working locally and in France, Italy, and the United States in branding and marketing. Azadeh has built successful campaigns and picked up many awards along the way, too many to mention. Azadeh works with entrepreneurs and corporations who want to create an authentic connection between their company and their audiences, build a magnetic brand that attracts their ideal clients, and ultimately make a difference in the world. Azadeh is a proud mentor at Futurepreneur. She's an advisory board member at Healthy Heroes Foundation. She dances flamenco and salsa and does so very well. Thank you very much. She plays beach volleyball and she travels the globe. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our digital hands together and give a warm welcome to Azadeh Yaraghi. Azadeh, say a few words of welcome.
Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to have you on. I see 27 participants. Thank you so much for being here on a nice day in the middle of summer on a Saturday. I really hope that you're going to get a lot from this content. So I look forward to sharing the next hour with you.
Wonderful. So let's start with how you tell us how you would like to handle questions. You got 3 choices. Would you like to take questions as you go? Would you like to take questions as you go and then until we have a time crunch and then deal with them at the end? Or would you like to postpone and deal with them all at the end?
Yeah, I think I'd like to hold them until the end. There's a Q&A section sort of towards the end. But I would like to encourage everybody to chat along. I'll be asking questions along the way, and I'm checking in to see how everyone's resonating, what your answers are. I really want you to be participating in this. I really, really appreciate our audience participation. So, don't just be like sitting there hanging back. Like, I really want you to just get into the content and let's just roll up our sleeves and do something in this next hour. So as I'm saying this, I want you to just discover where the chat button is. So the chat button is different than the Q&A. If you have a question, then just put it in the Q&A and Roger will have the list of questions to go to towards the end. But then in the chat box, I see Terry just sent a chat. So she's saying, who's on the call? I actually can't see who's on the call. I'm just seeing that there are 27 participants, but hi, Terry. So I encourage all of you to just use the chat box. You can use it now just to say hi so that I know you're all there and you're using it. That would be appreciative. Yeah, but we'll hold the questions until the end. But you're more than welcome to just start asking them in the Q&A box.
Great.
Awesome. Hi, Cal. Hi, Terry again. Hi, Peter.
So Azadeh.
Oh, sorry. Just one One other thing, Roger, I just want to point out, because sometimes some people don't know on Zoom, when you're chatting, just make sure you're chatting to all panelists and attendees. You don't just send it to me personally or Roger personally, so that we can all see what everybody's saying. Unless, of course, if you have something private to share with me or Roger, you can send it privately. But for everything else, just make sure you're sending it to everybody. Thank you.
So Azadeh, your first skill testing question. Why on earth is branding an important issue for speakers who are determined to have high impact?
Yes, I love this question. And you know what? The thing is that speakers are amazing at what they do. They get up, they do their talk, they walk off, and they're awesome. But most speakers don't think about their brand when they're building their talks. This is the number one problem, is that they're not actually thinking about their brand. Most of them don't think about the perception they're creating as soon as they step on stage. Because here's the thing, first impressions create lasting impressions. And that first impression is going to be really hard to change. So you want to make sure that that first impression that you create in front of your audience, in front of people, is the right impression. Otherwise, it's going to take a lot of time, money, and effort to turn it around. Generally speaking, the rule of thumb is that you have about 7 seconds to create an emotional connection with people. That's all you get, 7 seconds. So you want to make sure that you're using them wisely. Being a speaker, being a great speaker is not enough, because most speakers think too short term. They think about going on stage, delivering talk, and walking off. But actually what speakers need to do is start thinking long term. And that's when your branding actually kicks in. Think about it. What reputation do you want to create for yourself? What perception do you want others to have of you? And what action do you want them to take after your talk? When you step off that stage, that's where your real work begins. On stage is to capture them. Off stage is to keep them forever. So my question to you is, do you want to keep them forever? Now, use the chat box and say yes, if that's, you want to keep them forever. You're a speaker, you're out there, you're speaking, you're engaging with people. And so you want to just walk off and people forget you, or do you want them to have a connection with you and going later? So type yes in the chat box if you actually want to keep them forever. Let's put yes. Yes, yes. Terry, I want to keep some of them forever. Good one. That's right. Good point, because not all of them are going to be your ideal clients, right? But the ones that are, you want them gravitating to you like a magnet, right? They see you talk, Terry, and they're like, oh my God, she's amazing. I want to follow up with her, not just forget about you. And Peter says yes too. Awesome. So now, speaking
Azadeh, you've given
strategy.
Us two amazing tweetable quotes. First impressions create lasting impressions. And the second was, you capture them on the stage and keep them.
On stage, you capture them. Off stage, you keep them forever.
Oh, lovely quotes. You keep them forever. All right.
Yeah, that's what you want to do.
Now, tell us why you are the queen of branding.
Oh gosh, I don't know if I'd call myself the queen of branding, but you know what? I've been doing branding for about 14 years, but I've been fascinated with the notion of identity since I was a child. Those of you that may know me, if you're on the call, I know I'm recognizing some of the names, but those who don't know me, I was actually born and raised in Iran during the revolution, depending on how much of Iran's history you remember. In 1978 is when the Shah, our king, got kicked out, and Khomeini, the religious figure, took power. And shortly after that, everything changed in the country. Women had to start wearing the hijab, alcohol and dancing became prohibited, et cetera, et cetera. But the biggest difference was that people changed. Some agreed with these new religious figures that took on power, and others did not. So what happened was that people started developing two phases. One phase was for inside the house, because you felt safe and you could express your opinions and nobody would ever report you. And the other face was built for outside the house, because you never knew who you were going to meet and who they supported. Because you got to know, if ever anybody found out that you didn't report these religious figures, you would have either gotten shot on the street, or you would have been imprisoned, or you could have even just disappeared. So this was like a tactic for safety, right? So these people just developed two faces. And growing up in this, I never thought this was right? It never just resonated with me, because we were told to have these double identities, right? And when meeting people, I never actually knew who I was meeting. I never knew if people were actually showing up as their authentic selves, or I was just, meeting their mask. And so I became very sensitive to this matter. And finally, when our papers got ready and we moved to Vancouver, I was 11 years old. We finally moved to Vancouver. I noticed actually in the Western world, people were also confused about their identity. I mean, it was interesting. They didn't necessarily need a war to be confused, but what I necessarily show up as they were, like authentically as they were. Or others would not necessarily see them as they are. So there was this sort of disconnect, as like, this is who I am, and this is how I show up, and people don't really understand me. So anyhow, I just was always fascinated by this idea of identity. So I started studying it. I went to Parsons School of Design and studied communication design. I then moved to Paris, France, and worked for a branding agency, and then a really big ad agency where our clients were the top 40 companies in the world. So I learned how to develop powerful brands and for companies in leadership positioning. And that was an amazing experience. And then after that, I decided to move back to Vancouver, started my company, Gogo Telugo, and focused it on branding. And then that's when my entrepreneurial journey began.
Great. Well, that's quite an exciting journey. By the way, I'm getting a signal that says that your network bandwidth is low. And so whenever I see you, it's kind of static Azadeh, little static images of Azadeh. So I just want you to be aware of that. My next question is this. Take about half an hour and give us some basic training in what branding isn't, good branding, bad branding, and then I'll come back to you. I'll just let you run with it for half an hour, and then we'll come back to move into some other questions.
Sorry, I'm just losing you from time to time. I don't know if everybody else is connecting and disconnecting. If you are, maybe just type it into the chat so that I know. So what I'll do here is I'll share my screen with you all. Hopefully you can see this. Everybody sees that? And I want to keep going back to the chat. So let's see if I can still see you guys.
I can see it perfectly, Azadeh.
You can? Okay, great. And if I go like this, is it better?
If you go like what?
Do you see it differently now? Or do you see it the same way?
I see it the same way.
Okay, good. So then I just went full screen, but I guess you don't really need to. Okay. So this is what we're going to talk about, is this concept that I've created called Your One Idea, the Key to Your Success. But before we go there, I want you to take this survey. So if everybody could have a piece of paper and a pen, we're just going to go and do a survey. Let me see. Some people are texting. Let me just make sure everybody sees it. Okay, did not notice a change. Azadeh, is your mute on? No, my mute is not on. Can you guys not hear me?
We can hear you loud and clear. I'm not sure what the matter is with Terry's end.
Okay. So Terry, make sure your audio is on, like yeah. Okay, so Tanya can hear me. That's fine. Okay, we'll keep going. So yeah, if everybody could have a piece of paper and a pen, we're just gonna do a survey. And I want you to just do this for yourself. And Mark can hear me too. Thank you, Mark. Thank you for your participation. I love it. You guys are a great group. So this is what you're gonna do. I'm gonna ask you 5 questions and I want you to rate it between 1 and 5. Now, 1 means it's not great, 2 means it's below average, 3 means it passes, 4 means it's good, and 5 means it's awesome. Okay, so the first question is, how well are you seen for the expert that you are? This is a really important question. How are you actually being seen in the world? Do people see you as you are, or is there a disconnect between who you are and how people see you? So just give yourself a number there between 1 and 5, and just go with your gut instinct, right? You don't have to think about this for too long. Number 2 is, how well are you heard for the message that you deliver? So how well are you being heard? How well is your message being delivered? How well do people understand you? Or when you show up and you explain your things, people kind of go, I don't get it. Or, you know, there just seems to be, again, a disconnect. So again, rate yourself on that. 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. Question number 3 is, how well do you stand out from your competitors? So now, in a world of busy marketers and businesses and entrepreneurs and other speakers, how are you standing out from your competition? Remember, I said you got 7 seconds to stand out from a crowd and 7 seconds to create that impression. So how well are you standing out from your competitors? Again, rate that. Then number 4 is, how well are potential new clients connecting to your brand? So how well are people connecting to you? Are they saying yes right away? Are they connecting, or is there a disconnect? So rate the connection of your potential new clients to you. And then question number 5 is, how well are you engaging new clients and growing the business? So this is when you get the yeses. This is based on your results. How well are you engaging people? When you go out there and speak, or when you're out there, I know there's speakers and other entrepreneurs on the call. So when you're out there speaking, or when you're out there selling your things, how quickly or how well are people buying into your things? And so therefore you're growing your business. And so rate that between 1 and 5. And then what I want you to do is add all of your numbers. So they're all 5 or below. So add them. Hopefully it's easy to do. And then once you've done that, you divide it by 25. So if you have your phone or your calculator nearby, if you could do that, and then I want you to type into the chat to see what numbers we're getting. And that's how you get your percent. So let's say, you know, you get 20 divided by 25. So you just scored 80%. Or you got 17 divided by 25, you got 68%. You got 12 divided by 25, you got 48%. So let me see how you guys are doing. Everyone's calculating. Roger, did you do this for yourself? Any brave souls want to share? 28%. Thank you, Peter. Peter, what was your lowest? What question was your lowest? Cal is at 40%. Thank you. Mark is at 64%. Very nice. Maybe type in also what numbers were your lowest scores. Okay, Peter says 1, 3, and 4. So to be seen, to stand out, and to be connecting. Roger says 80%. Tanya says 66%. Very cool. Okay, this is great. And so basically what the numbers tell you is how well you're doing in your brand positioning. Tanya says 2.5 was the lowest on which, 2 and 5? I got 5 for all. Candace, woohoo, rock star. So yeah, what this number or this percentage tells you is your brand positioning. So generally, if any of you scored below 80%, which basically is Roger, Candace, not Roger and Candace, but everybody else, it means that you need to do a bit of a rehaul in your branding, and that your branding is not necessarily keeping you up to par to do your best in this. What branding does is that it establishes trust for your audience. And so if it's not helping you to be seen, to be heard, to stand out, to connect, and to grow your business, you're probably in need of a revamp. So that's what those numbers mean. Now we can always talk about this furthermore later on. So now let's go into your one idea. And let's talk about branding. Now branding is a term that gets thrown around quite a lot, and not a lot of people necessarily know what this means and how to use it to their advantage. So I want you to, again, choose the chat box and answer this question. What does branding mean to you? What do you think branding means? And it could just be a word or a short sentence. So just use the chat box again and let me hear what you think branding means. And again, you don't have to think about it forever. This is like your gut feeling. This is the first thing that comes to your mind. So Roger says a feeling. Very good. Cal says how the world perceives me. Very nice. What else? I hope none of you are like writing paragraphs. Okay, good. Tanya says a service. Lauren says a unique identity that is trustworthy. Very cool. Mark says identification, a unique offering. Very cool. These are all awesome. These are all great answers. Branding is actually a very specific thing. It's a system. It is the combination of images and feelings people have about you. So again, branding is a system. It's the combination of images and feelings people have about you. Simply put, it's the image in your head and the feeling in your heart. So what is branding? The image in your head and the feeling in your heart. Branding is the window to the soul of your business. If you don't have clear images and feelings associated to you or your business that people can point out within seconds, it means that your business doesn't really have a brand. And if it doesn't have a brand, it doesn't have a soul. Isn't that like super dramatic and really sad? It is, right? But that's what's true. If people don't have clear images and feelings associated to your brand, they don't know what it is. They don't know how to talk about it. For example, Nike. People, you can have images and feelings associated to Nike right away, right? You know that brand. Whether you like it or not, it doesn't matter. But you have images associated to that brand and you have feelings associated to that brand. But if I were to say Reeboks to you, then you kind of go, I don't really know what that brand stands for. I can't really put an image to it. I kind of see the logo maybe, but I don't really see, like, there's no other story, right? So like, you want to make sure you're doing the same thing for your business. Branding is how people experience what you have to say or sell. So 10, 20 years ago, marketing was done in a very different way. We used to go from the company to the consumer. It used to be the company telling the consumers what their company is all about and what their brand is all about, and the consumers were just supposed to take it and run with it. Now, in today's terms, we go from the consumer to the company. Today, it's the consumers who are telling you, as the brand owners, what your brand is all about. Jeff Bezos says, branding is what people say about you when you're not in the room. Isn't this great and totally true? So what this says is that your brand starts when you stop speaking. When you're not there anymore, so especially as speakers, when you're off stage, that's when your brand actually starts to kick in. That's when people start to talk. So how are you going to use this to build your profile? Now, my question to you is, how many things do you think, now you're thinking, oh, images and feelings. So like images and feelings, like what are my images associated to my business and what are emotions associated to my business? So how many things do you think that people can remember? If you're going to give them, if you're going to deliver a message to them and you want them to remember this about you, how many things do you think they're going to remember? So again, use the chat box and write in a number. So Peter says 4 plus or minus 2. Roger says 1. Lauren says 3. Anything else? Do we have any repetitions? Cal says 1 would be ideal, I would think. Very good. Anybody else? Let's see if there's repetitions. Terry says 2. Very nice. Mark says 1. Awesome. So some of you are on the right track. It's in the title of the book, right? Your one idea. One thing. We are programmed and wired to remember one thing. We remember the first man who landed on the moon. We remember the first woman who won an Olympic gold medal. We remember our first kiss. We remember the number one richest man. So here's the concept of the one idea. Now I want you to listen to this. This one idea is, what is he cooking? I don't know, I can't see, but he's shaking something. So the concept of the one idea is as follows. Now you got to be listening to this. This is really important. This is the whole concept. If you don't listen to this, you're going to miss it. People don't buy your products or services. People don't buy your products and services. Or you're going to tell me, well, yeah, Azadeh, they do. I sell my consulting services and that's what they buy. Or I have books or I have products or whatever. That's what they buy. Actually, people don't. Here are some examples. Nike makes shoes. Coca-Cola makes soft drinks. Tony Robbins speaks, and Oprah has a talk show, but they all sell something else. They sell an idea. They sell an idea and a brand promise. Nike sells excellence, with their tagline being just do it. So what Nike sells you into is this idea of excellence. What does Nike do? They honor great athletes. Right? They honor the fact that you're going to go out there and you're going to do your best and you're going to give it your best shot. That's the message that they want to put into your head. So anytime they're doing any sort of advertising, messaging, campaigns or whatever, they're going to tell a story that's going to put the idea of excellence in your mind, because they're not going to sell you their gadgets or accessories or the latest soul technology or whatever. They're going to pump this idea of excellence in your mind so that when you think of Nike, you go, oh, I can just do it. And if you resonate with that message, you're going to buy from them. If you don't, you won't. And that's okay. Coca-Cola sells happiness. What does Coca-Cola do? In all of their advertising, think about it. What? So there's lots of people. There's never one person alone. There's always lots of people. There's always a party. There's music. There's dancing. The colors are always like red and white, and there's warmth. Right? So Coca-Cola wants to put this idea of happiness in your mind when it comes to the brand. They're not selling you water, sugar, and syrup. They want to stand out in your mind in terms of happiness, right? And their tagline is open happiness. So your tagline, a tagline, is usually very closely associated to what your one idea is. Tony Robbins. So now those were corporate companies. Now Tony Robbins is a personal brand, right? So he falls under personal branding. He sells you into empowerment. Anytime you're going to say yes to Tony Robbins to go see his talk or buy his book or, sign into a webinar or anything like that, it's because you think as soon as I'm done with the seminar that he's involved with, I'm going to feel empowered. I'm going to have this like new direction, or I'm going to like feel different, or blah, blah, blah. And this is if you buy into what he's selling. Again, if you don't buy into his energy and his values and all of that stuff, then you're not going to buy into it. And again, that's okay, because you're not his ideal client. But for his ideal clients, that's what he's selling you into, is the sense of this feeling of empowerment. So again, what is branding? The images and feelings people have about you. So he's got very clear images and he's got very clear emotions that are that he puts inside of people's hearts and minds. But the idea, his one idea, is this feeling of empowerment. Oprah sells you into compassion. Now, it's actually interesting to kind of tell you sells you into compassion, but that's what happens in marketing. We are all in business to sell and buy something, right? So you're in business, you either buy something from others or you're selling something to others. When you are marketing and when you're establishing your brand, you think along the same lines. It's not to sort of dirty the word compassion, but that's what she's promoting to you. That's what she wants to put in your mind and heart. That's what she's all about. And this is all authentic. You don't have to go outside of yourself to create something that's not you. The whole point of it is that you create it in a way that's so aligned to who you are, truly, so that when people see you from the outside, they go, oh yeah, I totally see that that's her. There is no confusion about the fact that Oprah is all heart. She's this authentic woman who wants to bring people together. She wants to empower women, and she wants to make this world a better place, right? But the first thing and the only thing that she sells you into is compassion. So now I want you to think about it for yourself. What transformation are your clients buying into? Because when people buy into something, it's always about change. They're at point A and they want to go to point B, and whatever happens in the middle is this change and this transformation. And that's what they're buying into. So they're not buying into gadgets, right? They're buying into benefits. People don't buy shampoo, but they buy into silky, healthy, beautiful hair. They don't buy cereal, but they buy nutrition, and a healthy diet, right? So now think about it in your business. What is that transformation that your clients are buying from you? So again, use the chat box and let's just see what you guys are thinking. So Roger says, inaction into action. Very true. People buy into the inspiration that leads them into action. Totally. Cal says, freedom to do what they love. Very cool. I love it. Freedom to do what they love. I want to know what you do, Cal. That's awesome. What else? Any other ideas as we're talking through this? Anxiety to peace. Very good, Lawrence. Awesome. That's so great. So then that's peace. Actually, I actually have the example that I'm going to show you later that the one idea was also peace. So we're going to see it together. So here's an example. So my company was actually a proud exclusive brand partner of TEDx Stanley Park. I met Roger a few years ago, and we started talking about TEDx Stanley Park's positioning. And I told him, I really don't think people see TEDx Stanley Park as it truly is. Like here's this whole red carpet experience, and people don't even know it. They think TEDx Stanley Park is like any other TEDx. So he agreed with me and we started working together. And the thing that was missing, that's always missing in any business, is that you haven't clarified your one idea and you're not speaking through the one idea throughout your marketing collateral. So when we started working together, Roger's one idea for TEDx Stanley Park came to be inspiration, right? People buy into inspiration. That's why they attend that day. And so when you know your one idea, it's your internal strategy. You're not going to start walking around and say, I'm selling inspiration. Anybody buying inspiration? No, you don't say it that way, but it becomes your internal strategy where you're going to use it and other words that mean the same thing. So as soon as you have your one idea, you go to a thesaurus and you find out other words that say the same thing. So for example, for TEDx Stanley Park, it's change, growth, transformation, action, moving forward, these sort of things. So in your messaging and in your talks, you're always using this word because subconsciously people are going to hear it in multiple times. And then you doing this throughout months and years, your one idea is going to be clear to them subconsciously, from a subconscious level, not consciously. And so once you know your one idea, then you roll it out into your marketing. So when we started doing Roger's messaging on the website, here's some places that it got used. So for example, one of the banners said, welcome to the premier inspirational event in Vancouver. The second one said, get jazzed about inspirational talks given by top speakers. The third one, take action on ideas that matter to you and your community. The fourth one, create positive change in your life and in the world, right? So these were rotating banners that was going on the website. And speaking of the website, we went from the old to the new because the old, it wasn't really talking about his one idea. It was just selling the event, right? People landed on there. It just said the tagline, inspiring brave actions. And then it was this button to buy and a button to become a volunteer or something like that. People are not ready to click on those things before they get to know what your brand is all about. So when we changed it to the new site, what you can see on the left-hand side is a column that stays still so that the date and the call to action never change. And what you see on the right-hand side is what scrolls up. And those are the rotating banners that you see up, and then there's a video. So there's a lot of language going on already above the fold as soon as we land on the website to get a feeling of this brand and what this brand is all about. And after we ended up working together, Roger says the one idea gave us direction on our messaging and audience engagement. That's right, because once you know what your one idea is, you know how to engage people and you know how to bring them in. The next example is Robin Wyman. So Robin used to have a lavender farm. I met her at a networking event and she came to me and said, Azadeh, I'm having a really hard time. I used to do this. So people still view me as this. I used to create essential oils. So now people just see me and have tagged me as the oil lady. So I go to networking groups and I tell them about my new business, which is now consulting people and supporting people in two of the most important phases of life, beginning of life and end of life. And so she supports people going through these phases, but people just couldn't hear her because they kept seeing her as this oil lady and they kept referring back to her lavender farm. And so she was like, how do I turn this around? Because they don't seem to get it. And so we started working together. And then her one idea came to be, Lawrence, peace. Because what are these people looking for? If it's new moms just having a baby, or people who are at the end of their life, either diagnosed or they've passed on and it's the family who now has to deal with the passing, what do they want back in their life again? They want peace, right? So this is what they buy from her. They're not going to buy into her consulting services. They want this notion of peace. And so, we go to the thesaurus, and there's all these other words that you can use for the marketing collateral. And then once you build the brand, just even look at the colors. Colors are extremely important. They create a psychological imprint on us. Studies show that 95% of the reason why people shop is based on visual cues. So they need to see things to buy them. 85% of that 95% or 96% is based on color alone. So please do yourself a favor and don't go and just pick your favorite color and say, my favorite color is purple, so I'm just going to put purple all over my branding. No, understand what purple means and understand what that does to your audience and choose it according to that. Because with all due respect, at the end of the day, it's not about you, it's about them, right? So you want to make sure that you're creating all of your collateral to their advantage. And so what happened for Robin is now she goes to networking events and she gets 2 reactions. The first one is, oh my God, I don't know anybody who does what you do. That is so cool. And the second reaction is, I know exactly who to refer to you. Isn't that empowering? As soon as you switch it around, as soon as you create that clarity that you know what people are now buying from you, you switch it off from the consulting to, oh no, here are some images and emotions that people actually buy into, and you create your messaging that speaks the same language. Now, all of a sudden, you're connecting. And the latest, greatest thing that's actually happened to her is that a radio station out of New York found her website, and they watched the video on her website that we created for her. And they called her up and said, we don't know anybody that does what you do, so we want to give you a spot on our show just as a trial to see how it's going to go. So their audience is 50 million around the world. 50 million around the world. This is not small potatoes. And their daily viewers consistently are 1 to 2 million. She did a 20-minute spot. Do you know how many people showed up to her talk? 400,000. 400,000 people all of a sudden had access to her message. And they rated her talk with the viewers, and she rated 9.3 out of 10. 9.3 out of 10. They said they had never had anybody rate this high ever on their show before. And this was just her first thing. And this is not what she does. She's not a professional interviewer, but because she got clear on her one idea and she got clear on her messaging, she was able to speak from their language, and they got it, and they stayed on, and they were engaged. This is how powerful this stuff can be. So Robin says, the one idea gave me clarity and focus on how to develop my business. That's right, because at the end of the day, when you know that, you know how to move the rest forward so that it all makes sense. So Roger, this is where I stop. Oh, hold on. No, I have a question for everyone. Now, as you're listening to this, what do you think your one idea is? Do you have a sense? And some of you actually got it through the transformation. So Lauren said it's peace. Candace says it's a way out of addiction. So it's never a way into something. It is something. So whatever that is, you have to find a word that's always positive. It can't be negative. It always has to be positive. So Terry says transformational adventure. Very cool. So now you have to go to your thesaurus and find out what are other words that mean the same thing. A greater future, Lada. Very cool. Nice. That's right. So when it's the greater future, you think, okay, so is my messaging talking about this? Am I mentioning this on multiple occasions on my homepage, in my talk, in my elevator pitch, in the way I position my brand? So it has to be like everywhere. And subconsciously, people are going to start picking up on it. And Roger, inspiration, of course. Inspiration and action.
So Azadeh, could you briefly describe for us how we can go deeper into the whole area of branding for ourselves as speakers?
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually have a workshop that I wanted to share with everyone today. And I'm sharing this particular one because I know this one works the best, especially for small groups. But before I get to that, I want to present you all with a gift. So the gift is actually on our website, and it's called the Speaker's Brand Checklist ebook. It's an ebook So all you have to do is go on our website, gogotelugu.com, and then you're going to see right here, there's a black banner that says Speakers Brand Checklist ebook. So this is a checklist for you to have so that before you're getting on stage, before you're even creating your talk, you go through this checklist and you go, okay, have I done this? Have I done that? Have I done that? And you go through this checklist to make sure you're on par with your brand and that people are going to be engaged with what you're about to talk to them about. Now, we have this workshop. It's a group workshop called Nail Your One Idea. Now, what we do in this workshop are the following. We go through your values, mission, and vision. Values are the most important thing in your business. If you don't know what your values are and you're not actually communicating them, it's most likely why you're not getting your ideal clients to come to you. So there's a way of doing that. So we're going to discover what your values are. And typically, your company should have somewhere between 3 to 7 core values. Your mission is your big why. So why do you exist and why should people care? Why do you get up in the morning and you're excited to do what you do? That's the mission that you're on in your business, and it's the mission of your talks. So it's like the heart and soul of what you do. So we make sure we know what that is and that it's clear and it all makes sense. And then your vision is, where are you going? So 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road, what are you creating out there? So again, it's not about just the talk that you're going to do now. You're creating that perception that's going to last in time. So what is that vision that you have for yourself and your business, and how is your brand going to elevate that? So first we do that. Then we go do archetypes. I don't know if any of you have ever done archetypes for branding, but archetypes are a way of stereotyping what your brand is all about. And it builds your brand persona. So you create a triangle. We go through 12 archetypes and you create a triangle for yourself. The main one, the main archetype sits up here because it's the main thing. This is how you want people to perceive you. And then the other 2 are your supporting archetypes. So once you have this triangle, now you know the persona behind your brand. Once you know that, we go into your one idea. That's when we're going to land it. We're not going to land it just right off the bat. Then some of you have an idea that we're going to go back and say, is that actually right? Is that the right one idea to put out there? Once you know what that is, it's still at a strategy space. We go into developing your key messages. Your key messages are a way of creating the stickiness factor. The stickiness factor in marketing is, so you know when you're like listening to the radio and the same song goes on over and over again, you're like, oh God damn it, I really don't like the song. Why does it keep coming on? And then all of a sudden you're in the kitchen one day and you start humming to the song when you're cooking. You go, oh my God, it's in my head, get it out. And so that's called the stickiness factor. And you want to do the same thing in your business. You want to create key messages that are memorable, they're short, and they're catchy so that subconsciously it sticks in people's heads. So once you know your one idea, then you go and build your messages. And those messages get used in your talks. You can oftentimes find better titles for your talks on your website, in your elevator pitch, etc. So then we do your positioning. So your positioning is all about how you stand out. How do people actually see you as unique? Because if you're a speaker, event organizers are always looking for what? They're looking for a speaker who's awesome at what they do. So they are going to do a really great job. And the second is they have something different so that in front of their audience, they're going to suggest something that's different that they haven't heard before. So in your positioning statement, when you use your one idea and it's all kind of positioning you in that sense, then it becomes more powerful. Then we go through your elevator pitch because speakers are amazing at talking a lot, right? So we give you 20 minutes, an hour, 90 minutes, and you talk and talk and talk, and it's awesome. But what if you're given 30 seconds or 60 seconds? How are you going to pull that off? And you're going to put all of the right points in those short seconds. So again, we work on that together. This is actually quite a challenge for a lot of people. So we're going to tackle this and nail it finally. And then the last thing that we work on is the online strategy. This is where a lot of the aha stuff happens for a lot of people because it goes into the direct implementation of what does your online presence look like versus how you show up in the world in person. Usually for speakers, there's a big gap between how they are on stage and how they show up in person versus what they look like online. A lot of speakers really don't like their website and the way that they look on social media, and they're not quite sure if they're doing it right. It's not their forte, and they're always like, oh God, I don't even know. I'm not really proud of it, but here it is. Here's the link. Go there and just, okay. So you might be missing out on a lot of opportunities if your online presence is not positioning you the same as how you show up in person. So we're going to go through those strategies and make sure you know what to do in order to change it all around. So how does it work? Is that we do it in small groups, like I mentioned, so that we get through everybody, and they're quite intimate. So we get to do a lot of work together. So 6 people per group. We go 12 sessions over 4 months. We meet once a week, 3 times a month. So we typically meet the first, second, third week of the month. We take the 4th week off because you'll have some homework to do. And then you show up the next month, first, second, and then we go on for 4 months like that, 12 sessions in total. And it's each session is about an hour. So I need you for 1 hour each week, 3 times a month to get through this work. Normally, the investment is $2,000 per person, but because I love Roger and Roger loves all of you, and he always wants to do a good deal on the day of this presentation, I'm knocking off $500. So it's $1,500 per person. And at the end, you get your brand book that has all of this in it. And now you have a strategy to move forward with. The next starting dates, I only do this 2 or 3 times a year. So the next start date is October 4th to December 13th. So the first day that we began, I believe they're Thursdays, and it'll be in the morning, depending on, because we have different people watching. I mean, we have 27 of you watching today, but then we'll have different people watching online later. And some people might be joining us from Europe. So it'll probably be in the morning on Thursdays during this time. So you might want to just look at your calendar to see if that would work for you. And then you get some bonuses. I love throwing in bonuses. So I co-wrote a book called Simple Success Strategies for Women Entrepreneurs. It's a paperback right here. You get it in copy. So the value is $25, and it actually became a #1 bestseller on Amazon the day it hit the market or Amazon, because apparently not a lot of people write for women. And this is not necessarily written for women, but we positioned that way, and it did well. There are 11 chapters in there about different aspects of business that all entrepreneurs should know about. How to niche, how to talk about your finances, how to power of mind. I talk about branding, video, blogging, and etc. So there's 11 chapters in there. So you get that as a bonus. You also get this workbook that's called Values, Mission, and Vision. This is a great workbook to go through before we even start the process, because there's videos to watch and there's exercises to do. So you're going to feel really empowered coming to the first session having done this workbook. And then you also get a 60-minute one-on-one consultation with me. Usually people like to use this at the end of our 12 sessions, just because at the end you have so much more knowledge. And now you want to just sort of have me with you for an hour and just go, okay, so I get this, I get that. I know what to do here, but I'm not quite sure about this. So what do you think? And da-da-da-da. So we go through an hour kind of establishing what you're going to do next. And so here's the package that you're going to receive. So your Nail Your One Idea group workshop today is $1,500. With that, you get the book, you get the workbook, value $97, and you get the consultation that's valued at $250. So your bonus total value comes to $372. Now, who's ready to take their brand to the next level? Woo! I'm going to just pretend that I can hear you, that you're all saying, yes, I want to do it, and I could do it. I'm so pumped for this. This is the interesting thing about online webinars, right? I don't actually hear you, but I'm gonna feel like you've got a big smile on your face sitting behind your screen right now. So if you are interested, this is what I want you to do. I would like for you to go, and you can take a screenshot of this so that you can have it for later, or take a picture of it with your phone. Go on this link, gogotelugo.com/oneidea. What's gonna happen is that it's going to take you directly to my Calendly, so my schedule, and I want you to book a 20-minute call with me if you want to talk about this, to make sure this is the right thing for you. Because everyone is always at different places in their business, and they have different goals and a different vision for their business. And I also understand that there's no one size fit all. So if you want to have a conversation with me, this is my gift to you, is I've opened up my calendar this next week, and also the week of September 1st, because the last week of August, I'm actually off. So next week or the first week of September, you're more than welcome to schedule a 20-minute talk with me. We'll meet on Zoom, face to face, have a conversation about where you're at in your business, what you're doing right now, and what you want to do later. And if we both feel like, yes, this group workshop is going to be really good for you, then you go ahead and do it, and you still get the bonus that I'm presenting you with today. And if we decide that, you know what, it's probably not the right fit for you, then at least you got some, consultation from me during that time. So again, go ahead and go on there. So I'm going to turn it, as we don't have a lot of time. We've got like 3 minutes maybe, and I just need 1 minute to wrap up. So if you guys have any questions, here's the time to go through them. So Roger, are you getting questions in the Q&A box? Because I'm looking at the chat.
Yep. No, there's, you were so thorough that there's no unanswered questions.
Oh, great. So maybe, because I have the chat box open right now, does anybody have any questions that they're dying to ask in the next few minutes? I also really like to do hot seats where I get somebody's website and we go through it and I put you on the spot. But unfortunately, there was a bit of a tech thing. And so we're running out of time. So yeah, any questions? Feel free. Any brave souls or whatever you're thinking about, it's lingering in your head. Ah, Mark, look at that. autumnstudios.ca. Does nobody have a question? I'm very intrigued to go on this website right now.
Well, you've got 3 minutes to do so.
Oh my God. I usually take like 10 minutes to do this. But
You've got 3.
Okay, so Mark, tell me quickly, what is it that you do? So if everybody else, you might want to go also on his website because I'm on it and I'm going to just give him some quick tips. Autumn Studios. So Mark, I need to just kind of know from you what it is that you do so that I know how to look at this, because the way that you look at websites is not aesthetically how it looks, although obviously everything needs to look good, but you really need to know what the entrepreneur is doing, what is their main thing that they do, and who's their ideal client, so that you make sure that whatever they're creating online is actually speaking to those people and is true to who they are. So I could easily go and say, oh, I like this, I like that, and it's not going to mean anything. You're a composer, beautiful, inspirational speaker, mediation leader, new album called Spark, releasing around the GI Talk. Very cool. I don't think we've met, Mark, have we? Meditation, not mediation. Okay, got it. Meditation leader. Very cool. So, and who's your ideal client? Just really quickly, because we got 2 minutes and I know, or we got really 1 minute because I know how Roger likes to end on time. Roger, do I get an extra 2 minutes because we had that tech issue? Your next speaker is really at 2:15.
All right, you have 2 minutes, but that's it. 2 minutes.
Okay. All right, I just
That
bought 2
doesn't
minutes.
mean 4, it means 2.
All right. Yeah, okay. Yeah, awesome. So yeah, schedule a call with me and we'll definitely chat more about this. Yeah, maybe this is the best thing to do, Mark, is just go on that link that I sent, and this is for everybody, right? You get it. You get 20 minutes with me. It's my gift to you. No, nothing, like no agenda. I'm here, honestly, my biggest mission in life is to be of service to others and to make sure that you're being heard and you're being seen as who you are. And so this is why I do what I do, but I want to make sure that it's always the right fit. So if I'm putting this out there, it's not like a marketing or a sales pitch. It's really to make sure that it's the right fit for you. And if you just want to have a conversation with me because you want to go over your website, then let's do it properly. Yeah, Mark, let's just do it properly. I'm not even going to get started because I need to know your ideal client. I have lots to say to you actually by just reading that. And I want to give you really good feedback. And I would have loved it if everybody could hear, but really we're running out of time and I want to respect Roger wanting to end this on time. So again, I'll go back here. Make sure you have this link. You've taken a picture of it or you've jotted it down. Mark just booked a call. Woohoo! Awesome. Thanks, Cal. You're awesome. So yeah, book a call there. And I want to just leave you with this. If you know who you are, if you know who is your ideal client and who you want to attract, and you approach your brand positioning and messaging with honesty and consistency, you can build a powerful and successful business. This is the competitive advantage you've been waiting for. It's not a feature. It's in that one idea that people are actually buying from you. So if you want to dominate in your industry, this is the best place to start. I invite you to discover your one idea, to point your messaging in the right direction, and follow through with consistent action. And thank you. So I invite you to stay in touch with me. This is again, you can take a screenshot either with your computer or just a picture with your phone. That's my phone number. That's my email. You can find me on Facebook and LinkedIn under Azadeh Yaraghi, my full name. And then on Twitter, if you are on Twitter, it's GoGoAz. And I think somebody started following me as we were talking. So thank you all for your attention. Thank you for being so engaged throughout this whole thing. I loved all of your chats and comments. And I look forward to meeting some of you that are going to take advantage of this. So it's really I think the first 30 people will be able to do this. There's only 30 spots. So again, it's the 27 of you today, and then all of the 100 and whatever that are going to be watching this later on this weekend. So if you are thinking that you want to have a chat with me, do it sooner than later, because they always fill up really quickly. That's it, Roger. Look, I'm 1 minute early.
Thank you, Azadeh. We much appreciate your pearls of wisdom. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.